Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, firstly, thank you for having me and for the invite. And it's my absolute privilege to be talking to you today and sharing a little bit about what we've been working on in the small patch of the Southeast Corridor. But before I get started, I just want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay our respects to their elders, past and present. And I say that we are fiercely committed to creating a better Australia for Aboriginal children, both today and tomorrow. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the Youth Partnership Project and some of the work that we've been doing. And I guess before I tell you what it is that we're doing, I want to tell you why it is that we exist. So for those that aren't familiar, in the Southeast Corridor of Perth, which is all the way up from South Perth right down to Armidale, 1 in 4 of the kids that end up in Bankstown Detention Centre across our state are from Southeast Corridor of Perth. So our project purely exists to change that figure around. There was a collection of organisations who came together across government and non-government, as well as community and young people themselves, and collectively we agreed that it's time to change the story. So what this was premised on is this idea that if we can predict it, then we can prevent it. If you've worked in communities like Armidale or Kununurra or places like that across our state, you'll soon be able to identify the kids who are going to end up within our juvenile justice system. We're talking about 8, 9, 10-year-olds that if you don't do something, if we don't do something as a community, you can very much know the trajectory that their life is going to go on. And so we got together and said, well, that's not good enough. If we can predict it, then surely we can prevent it. Because this is a shared problem. This is not just the problem of one organisation. It's not just the problem of one person. This is a shared problem. And therefore, if it's a shared problem, then it has to be a shared solution to that as well. Now, some of you might be thinking, we're at an education forum, what's that got to do with juvenile justice? What I'd say to that is that education is key. Education is a key protective factor in young people's lives. We're actually going to support them down a different path. We're actually going to support them to thrive within their communities in which they live. So we've set out to change the story. But today I don't want to talk to you about how great our project is or what it is that we're actually doing. We're doing a workshop session next and we'll unpack that a little bit more. But what I want to talk about today is the types of people that it takes to do this work. And I think in places like this, in forums like this, we're often talking about what we're doing. What is it that we're doing? How are we doing it? But today I want to talk about who's doing it. Who's doing the work? Out of the 250 people that are in this room, what is it about you that actually makes the difference? And so what we did was partner with a clinical psychologist. Her name is Michelle Burns, Dr. Michelle Burns. And she's been working with us for about a year, or maybe a bit longer than actually, maybe 2 years. And maybe at the beginning of this year, again, we're talking about this idea. What is it about the people that are part of this project that's actually making the difference? And so we did a whole heap of testing across organisations. This isn't just about Save the Children, this is about multiple agencies that are a part of this partnership. And they did 3 different types of assessments. These were youth workers and different people working with the young people. And we didn't know what would be useful. But at the end of it, what came out of it was 5 different key things that were common themes across the people that are a part of this project that actually are making the difference. Now, because I have a short amount of time, I'm not going to cover all 5, but I'm just going to focus on 3 of those things. Number 1, you ready? Number 1, empathy. No, not empathy. People change people's lives. So, before I go into that, people change people's lives, not programs. And that's something that's really important about what we do. We can run all the programs in the world, but if we don't have the right people running those programs, then we're actually not going to be successful at all. Good point. So, first one, empathy. So, empathy is defined as the ability to feel with people. Now, if you're sitting in this room as a youth worker or a teacher or some level of person who's working with vulnerable young people, I can guarantee that you would rate relatively high on empathy compared to the average population, potentially. Empathy is what makes us effective in the jobs in which we do. Empathy is about relationship. It's about relationship with young people, a relationship with each other. Now, one of the challenges is that when we walk out of universities from doing our degrees, or we'll walk out of our TAFEs doing our certificates, we walk into a system that's not designed around empathy, which is a big problem when you put people who got into the field because they care about people, because they have so much empathy, and you then put them in a system that's not designed like that. So often what happens is our systems are based more on efficiencies than they are on empathy. And it looks something like this. So if we become more focused on how many kids we have in a classroom, we become more focused on how many kids we can get through our caseload in a year, then actually we become more about being efficient than we do about being effective. So if empathy is based on relationship, then we need to create a system that allows the time to build relationship. We need to provide spaces where we can actually build relationship with children, where we can actually feel with people, if that's why we all started the careers that we've started. Now, you might be sitting in this room and you don't know me, thinking, where's this hippie come from? It's all about the love. And you hold a budget because you're a manager. Rest assured, I hold a budget as well. So I hear your concerns. Because if we went the other way, and it looks like this, and we're all about the love, and we all have staff that are all about the love, then actually it gets out of balance. You know, if we all had our way, we would do one-on-one work, wouldn't we? We'd teach young people one-on-one, we would do mentoring relationships based on the one-on-one. The challenge with that is that we all have to earn a wage. And so that's actually not an efficient use of resources. So what our project is set out to do is find a balance between those two things. So the Youth Partnership Project is premised on the fact that we need to be effective. We need to create a new early intervention system that is based on relationship. It's based on creating space where we can feel with young people. But we also need to be cost efficient whilst we're doing that. And that's why when we talk about the project and how we're evaluating the project, again, if we can focus on early intervention, if we can identify the young people early, before they become involved in the juvenile justice system, before they're completely disengaged from school, then we're actually going to create a more efficient system as a society. And wouldn't that be good for all of us, taxpayers? So, point number 2, ambition. Now, when we're talking about ambition, often we get these negative connotations in our head. So when I say ambition, I'm not saying narcissist, okay? I'm just saying ambition. So when we talk about ambition, the type of ambition we're not talking about is climbing the ladder. The type of ambition we're not talking about is, I want to become the next principal because that's where I'm heading in my career and I don't care who I want to step on to get there. I'm not talking about the type of youth worker who you can see they're beelining for the manager role. They want to be the state manager within the first 5 years of their career. I'm not talking about that type of ambition. I'm talking about the ambition that says that I am more committed to creating outcomes for young people than anything else. That's the type of ambition we're talking about. And so when we looked at the people that were across the partnership that we're working with, they were highly ambitious because they were focused on the young people and doing anything it takes to create that change for those young people. But often what happens is it gets a little bit mixed around. Now, we've all been in organisations, of course you're not in this organisation now because you would have left, but you've all been in the organisations where there's this negative culture and you can't quite figure out what that's about. You can't quite put your finger on it. It's high turnover of staff, people are unhappy, things aren't great. And what I'd like to do is draw from the work of Simon Sinek, and I've changed it slightly, but it looks like this. It's when our organisations become more concerned about what they're doing than why they're actually doing it. They become more concerned about, building the organisation, growing the programs, opposed to why we're actually there in the first place. So that might look like, if someone says to you, what is it that you do? You know, it might be, well, I have a classroom of 30 children, my job is to teach curriculum. How are you going to do it? I'm going to use direct instruction approach to teaching literacy. And why are you doing it? I don't know, I forgot why I'm doing it because I'm so focused on what I was doing. And now that's no criticism of anyone, including myself, who can get distracted by what we're doing. But the point is that if we keep on doing that, we're not going to be as effective as we can. So it's about turning it around to why. Why are we there? What is it that gets you out of bed in the morning? What is it that gets me out of bed in the morning? And so to turn that story around, if we started with why, and I said to you, why do you do what you do? You could say, I want to break intergenerational poverty. There's 3 generations of kids that I'm working with in my school, and I can tell you that each and every one is illiterate, because mum's illiterate, nan's illiterate. And so if I actually want to create any kind of change, that's my focus. That's why I get out of bed in the morning. How I do that, and then what I'm doing, are still critically important. Of course they are. But they're less important than why I'm actually there. And again, if it's people changing people's lives, then our why needs to be a lot more important than our programs. Last point, perseverance. Now, we've been running this project for about 4 years, and I've been a part of it for the last 2 years. And what we say when we mean perseverance, it's sustained energy and passion. Again, when you come out of university or whatever studies that you did, and you're so passionate, and you start on the first day, and you're ready to change, you believe you can change the world. And then somewhere along the way, things happen, and it gets a little bit cloudy, and young people, working with young people can be challenging, let's be honest, it can be challenging, particularly the young people that we're talking about today because of the complex needs that they have. And so it's about actually building perseverance within our team. So today I want to draw from the work of Angela Lee Duckworth. She just recently released a book called Grit. There's a great TEDx talk about it if you wanted to look that up as well. And she says that purpose equals perseverance. So going back to our first point, if your staff, if you, your team, your staff, and your partnership are focused on your purpose and why you're there, then you're more likely to have strong perseverance. And so as a sector, we need to be building in perseverance into the people that we're working with. And we do that by ensuring that we're leading with purpose, that they're really clear about why it is that they're there. The second point is this: failure equals learning. Now, failure is a really uncomfortable idea. Now, I put under there learning, that is not my word. Professor Clinton, who's the WA chief scientist, we met with him maybe a year ago, and he said, as a sector, we need to be committed to learning. I said to him, you just made that up. That's not a real word. Wikipedia, apparently it is. So failure equals learning. Failure equals learning. Now again, I can guarantee in the workshops that we're going into today, 9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, will be about how wonderful the work you are doing. You want to share to the world how wonderful the work is that you're doing, the outcomes you're creating for young people. Me too. We all do. And that's fantastic. And we need to be sharing those good ideas. But if you just reflect for a moment, personally and professionally, what are the things in your life, in your career, that actually taught you the most?
Absolutely.
Right. But we don't like to admit that, right? But the thing is, if as a sector we don't admit that, we actually can't learn together. There was not long ago, I was sitting in a meeting with a government department who I won't name who, education. Someone around the table said, so at the end of this project, who holds the intellectual property? And I said to her, or him, if you're willing to fail, I'll share the intellectual property. Because if we're going to fail together, then we can own the intellectual property together. If we're taking the risks together, then we can share it. So it's about perseverance. It's about getting up time and time again, being committed to the purpose of why we're here, for the young people that we're all here for. So in closing point, and as you're across your fantastic workshops that you're going to be a part of today, I want to close with a couple of thoughts. We have shared problems that demand shared solutions. And we need to be committed to working together to make sure we achieve those things. It is people who change people's lives. And we need to remember that in every single thing that we're doing. Let us design programs and systems that are founded in empathy. Let us be ambitious and clear why we're here. And let us persevere, be willing to fail, and get back up again time and time again. Because the future can be better, and we have the power to make that so. Thank you very much.